Okay, now we have started recording. Right. I think we can just start. So, all right. Welcome to the class of Introduction to Artificial Intelligence. Why am I talking in English? My Norwegian isn't really that good. Men jeg kan forstå noe norsk, så hvis det er spørsmål du kan skrive norsk, jeg tror, yeah, I mean, jeg kan svare på norsk også. But when it comes to a presentation like this, where it's important for me to be able to deliver or to explain all of you, what we're talking about and the concepts, I think if I use my limited Norwegian skills, it will be a waste of your and my time. So that's why the university also accepted it, and I hope you also accepted that this course will be delivered in English. Having said that, the final exam will be in both English and Norwegian language, and you will have a choice. You can do it either in English or in Norwegian language. The same thing goes for the assignments. So you choose. Some statistics about the class. Well, not statistics, but some information about the class. We're a class of 244 students. This is by far the biggest class that I have had. This course has been running for 3 years or 4 years, and the average was around 160, 180. This time something, we all know what happened. ChatGPT came out and everything, But so when it comes to the lectures part, we will have a lecture every Wednesday, which is today, so 8:30 to 10:15, and then there will be a lab on Thursday and Friday. So I will not be present in the labs. I will only be present in the lectures. And for the labs, we have 4 TAs, and they will help you out with the labs. Some information about me. Who am I? You know that I'm an assistant professor at OsloMets, so I am responsible for teaching this course. I'm also the member of the AI lab. And I did my master's from Kungliga Tekniska Högskolan from Stockholm, Sweden. Originally, I'm from Pakistan, but I've been living in Norway for 12, 15 years. So I'm from here. Then the position I have at OsloMet is more of a 20% position. So my main job is at Ruther. So at Ruther, I'm the head for data and artificial intelligence. And we started like 3 years ago in Ruther, and we've done really cool work at Ruther. I'm also the founder for Offently AI. Not sure if you people know about it, but this is a community of all Offently employees who work with AI in Norway, and we are like 150 plus members, and we meet 4 times a year. We talk about AI, we talk about issues with AI, and In addition, I also run my own startups. It's a startup called Binaric AI. We are a data labeling company, but we are also moving into the space of generative AI, and we're basically a data and AI company. So this startup has also has very good growth in the last 2 years. We also have a crowdsourcing platform, which you'll hear about it later. So when it comes to the TAs part, we have 4 TAs for the course, and I would really appreciate if you contact TAs first, because if you have 240 students in a class, and if of course I will reply to all of your questions, but the time it gets, like if you have a programming problem or a programming question, a question related to programming, question related to the course, or something which is more of a generic level, please reach out to the TAs. They will try their level best to help you out. If they can't, then I will jump into that conversation and help out. Try to avoid emails and use the conversation feature on Canvas, because everyone can access it, everyone can jump on it and help each other out. But obviously, if you love emails, send emails. I also need a class representative. You already know how the thing works. Since it's a fresh class, we don't have to do this now, but let's address it again in a few few weeks' time. The grading part. So the way this will be graded is purely on the final project and the written exam. We have 3 assignments, but these assignments will not be graded at all. These are programming assignments. Half of you come from a background who cannot do Python programming. The other half of you knows Python programming because you studied it in your education. So it's kind of unfair to people who don't know anything with Python programming and they have to learn Python programming. So that's why we kind of made the assignments more like, okay, you have to attempt the assignment and you have to pass the assignment. Like, okay, you don't have to make an algorithm which is a perfect algorithm, but you have to attempt it and you have to be able to deliver on what we have asked. So the assignments will not be graded at all. The assignments are a way for us to make sure that, okay, you have attempted it and we understand that you know how it works. So the only thing which will be like, we give you three assignments, you have to pass the assignments and that's it. And if you pass the assignments, you can then sit in the final exam. And then the final assessment will be 70% grade will be based on an exam. These are mostly multiple choice questions. And then 30% grade will be on a final project or an academic report. Now, the academic report part used to be very simple for us. We always gave like an academic report. Okay, we'll give you a report, make a group and write like 5 to 10 pages of paper on something. And then ChatGPT came out and we were like, what should we do now? So we are still not clear how to go about it. It will either be a final project or an academic report. So we are trying to find a solution, but you will know about it within a month. But before I go forward, I have a few questions. Okay, so the exam is not going to be a home exam. Again, the same problem, like ChatGPT came out and then kind of impacted the way we evaluate our assignments, we evaluate the exam and everything. So, and home exam was important in the COVID time. And since COVID is over, so we're not going to be home exam. So you have to come to school for that one. Last year, we also had a school exam. So yeah, ever since COVID was taken away, we had a school exam. We are a bit strict on how many people can be in the group. You have 2 to 4 students in a group. And it's important that you don't exceed that. But if you have a special reasoning why you need more people, then send me an email. And what will happen is that we will increase the requirements needed from you. Because the way the structure is more like, okay, this amount of work can be done by 2 to 4 people. But if you need to have more people, then we will increase the workload as well. All right. Okay. What is this? So what is this course about? We are actually, when the course came to me, it was a very theoretical course. It was mostly like, okay, we have to talk about AI, the background of AI, what really is AI, how AI works. And then the proposal which we gave back to the management was, how about we combine this and make it more a practical course? So obviously students will learn what's AI, how AI works, but how about we give them an idea on how to make practical applications using AI, using Python programming, use some AI libraries and so on. So that was approved. So the course which you will learn today, you will learn now, is a mix of theory and practical work. I will cover the theory part. I will cover whatever is happening in the AI world. We'll talk about different algorithms. We'll talk about the background and what kind of algorithm is needed in what kind of situation. In the lab, we have designed the labs that when you go in the labs, you will start in a very basic idea of how do you work with Python programming language. The first lab will be that one. Second lab will be how do you do data processing in Python programming language. And you have 2 labs on that one, and then 4 labs on how to do machine learning programming using Python programming. And that's it. Now, please bear in mind, this is a very basic course. We are not going to go into details or cover any advanced information about AI. Some of the students were disappointed in the last years because they were like, the course is too simple or too basic for them. Now, that's the challenge I have. We have a lot of other AI courses on master's level, which are more advanced. But the reason we have this call, and we call it an introduction to AI course, is because we assume that no one of you knows what AI is. No one of you has done any programming with AI before. So that is why we have to keep the course as basic as possible. And there might be a few of you who are smart and they have done a lot of work in AI. Smart is a wrong word. I apologize. But there are a few of you who have already done a lot of work in AI. But if you feel this course is not relevant for you, this is the right time to drop out and choose something else. We will just cover the basics of AI. We will cover the background, why AI is important. We cover different algorithms, and we'll do some basic programming, and that's it. The outline of the course is like this. So as I said, like basics of AI, AI stupid is taken away. So we're not going to cover that, but data is very important for AI. So I'm going to cover like data, the concepts of data, how we use data in AI, and the concepts of AI itself. Like there are various concepts of AI. We'll cover that part. Machine learning, we will jump directly on the machine learning part. Now, this part, deep learning and natural language processing, these two are always the bonus things. If we get time, we will cover them as well. This year, I don't think we should cover deep learning or natural language processing, but instead we should cover the technology behind ChatGPT. And we should cover generative systems and large language models, because the world is changing so fast. We need to know something about ChatGPT and how it works. So I'm going to take away deep learning and natural language processing, and I will put in ChatGPT, GPT architecture here. And then it's important for you to know about responsible AI and ethical AI. Okay, let's go to the questions. Okay, so the assignments will only be done in Python programming language. We are not allowed to use any other language. And the labs will be recorded in a way like, when you start the lab and you get a question like, yeah, the first 15-20 minutes will be recorded, but then the TAs will go out and help you out. Okay. Yeah, a very good question which came out. Are the labs identical on both days, or are there 2 different labs each week? So the answer is that the labs will be identical on both days. 1 week, 1 lab. And you can choose to come on a Thursday or a Friday, however it suits you. There was a question I got about it, the exam, and it says like, yeah, so when I mentioned that in a month's time, we will tell you more about the final projects. It's not the exam. So the exam is everything about your grading will be done on 2 parts. It will be done on your grading will be done on the final project, which will be 30%, and then 70% will be the final exam. Now, everything about the exam is already decided. There are no issues over there. That exam will be a multiple choice questions. I will give out some sample exam questions so you get an idea how the exam will be. and it will be inside the school. The final project part, we're not sure how to manage that part. So we will give you out more information. So we know it's either going to be report or it will be a final project of its source, not a programming project, but still a project which you need to do. We just need to internally on the administration side, we need to agree on it and come back to you. So that's what I'm saying. Like I need 1 month time to come back to you and give you more information about it. Okay, no more questions. Then let's go. Yeah. So what are you? Yeah. What will you get out of it? You'll get an idea of artificial intelligence and what are the related fields of AI. Very, very important. You will also get information on different terminologies like machine learning, natural language processing, and deep learning, GPT. You will learn how to work with data and how to do cleaning of data, because 80% of AI is actually working with data. You will learn about different business use cases of AI, ethics in AI. Yeah. Then when it comes to the books part, we don't really have a book for the course. I will give you reading guides. The slides will be the main thing. The lecture will be the main thing. There are 2 open source free books available. They will come when the machine learning part starts. So when that, yeah, and I will also update this information on Canvas, that book. So it's a very small book. It talks about how you use machine learning in practice, what kind of best practices are there. It's written by Andrew Ng, and it's available for free. So that I will share with you later. Okay, now I'm going to shift from one slide to the other. So I'm going to stop sharing. And let's go to the other one. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about statistics. So in today's class, we're going to talk about a few statistics about AI. Let's see, how much time do we have? Okay, we have enough time. So when it comes to the statistical part, it's important for me to show you how fast this AI field is evolving. Where are we going? How the money is flowing in? I'm sure you have seen what happened with ChatGPT, and since ChatGPT came out, there has been a revolution of new ideas. New stuff is happening every single day, and that's a great thing for the field of artificial intelligence. But I think there are 2 worlds happening in artificial intelligence. So you have a lot of companies, a lot of the world. Let's talk about the world. We have one part of the world working with normal artificial intelligence, and that was everything to do with image processing, text processing. Then you have video processing, driverless cars, and all of that area. And you had a few investments or focus being done on defense arm robots in the industry and so on. And that was growing in a steady pace. And then came ChatGPT, and then everyone started jumping on ChatGPT. And then there was a huge ecosystem of applications around ChatGPT. And then you have more LMs coming out. So when I look at AI, I look at these 2 worlds. And you have a lot of noise being created in one part of the world. And that's a noise we can all relate to, because we can use OpenAI's Chat GPT, we can use Google Bard. You have more chatbots coming out. And then I see the rest of the AI investment, and I can pull them in those 2 categories. So when we talk about statistics on AI, I'm going to talk about general statistics on AI. And yeah. So research in AI is very important. And the reason research is important, and that's why AI is different from the rest of programming, is that in the rest of programming, you come up with an idea, you come up with a problem, and you design a solution around it. What happens in artificial intelligence is that all the new innovation in AI comes from research in AI. One of the reasons we have Chat GPT working the way it works today is because of a research paper which was written by a few scientists at Google, I think, yeah. And then you had a lot of tools coming around Chat GPT, including the one which talks about how you can do quality testing of the Chat GPT or different LLMs. All kind of those tools come out because they're based on some kind of paper in AI. So if you want to see what kind of growth is coming around in artificial intelligence, take a look at which countries or which institutes are producing the most number of research papers. And if you look at that, then obviously you see like China and US are taking the lead. Then there are other countries coming up in the top as well. And India is going far ahead, UK as well. But there was like, I remember I saw Israel over there, and Israel was also, but Israel is a small country, but Israel is also doing fantastic work, depending on how small it is and how much research papers they're publishing. You see Norway down there as well, but Norway is very tiny, and then we don't really produce as much PhD researchers, and our research is also very small. Then another thing about AI is how much time is needed to train the model itself. When you look at AI, you have to think about like if you're interacting with a child, and with the child, you put an investment on the time. You try to educate the child by telling the child, yeah, this is right, this is wrong, and this is the same thing with an AI model itself. Like when you start working with an AI model, the model itself, you can do a lot of programming, but the model needs to learn from previous experiences, and those experiences are the data which you continuously keep on feeding to the model. So when you feed that data to the model, that part is called training the model, educating the model. That part takes a lot of time, and historically, that part has been the biggest bottleneck for us in creating AI models which could be very effective. But our hardware is getting faster, stronger, with more processing power. And what we see now is that the time it takes to train the model is getting smaller and smaller. Now we are living in a world where we hear about large language models as ChatGPT, which have been trained on 7 billion parameters, 30 billion parameters, 40 billion, 70 billion, and so on. It takes around, when you have a data set as big as 70 billion parameters, you would need at least a few months to train that algorithm, and you would need a specialized hardware to train that algorithm. Like I remember, if I'm not mistaken, that the bill for both Facebook and OpenAI to train their AI models was I think in 3 digits of millions of dollars. So it's a huge investment when it comes. And if you can reduce the time how much time it takes to train the model, that's the main key over here. Yeah. So this graph also shows like, okay, it used to cost, like in 2017, it used to cost like $2,000 to train an AI model. But if you train the same model now in 2019, it's going to cost you $7.4 only. You probably have used a lot of AI tools which generate an image for you. Image generation is actually used a lot when it comes to deep fakes. It has made its way into Hollywood. So Hollywood is testing out the generation of fake images so they can use in their content creation. And this technology has become much better than before. Like, it would take a look at the examples in front of you from 2014 all the way to 2020. And you can see in 2014 and 15, there was some problem with the image itself. And you could say like, this image was actually generated by AI, or there's some alteration has been done to the image. But as soon as you jump to 2016, 17, 18, and 20, I mean, you can't really say that this was an AI generated image. And now we are in 2023 living in the world of generative AI, which is becoming even more powerful. So when it comes to image processing, we have done extremely well. Okay, I'm going to go back to the questions. Okay, I have a few questions regarding the lab, so I will not cover them now, but I will come back to the chat afterwards. Okay, which countries are hiring the most in AI? And there you don't really have, I don't think the data is good enough over there. China and India were taken away from this kind of map. I think US was also taken away because they have a lot of population, and then you have a lot of, US is there, okay. You have a lot of population, and yeah, it kind of takes away the whole point of doing the analysis. But for some reason, Singapore is one of the countries who is investing the most in AI, and you're hiring a lot of people in AI as well. Within AI, most of the hiring was actually done in the field of, like, there are multiple categories in artificial intelligence. So you have neural nets, you have natural language processing, robots, autonomous driving. But the field which got the most kind of job applicants was machine learning programming within AI. Now, this graph is until 2019, but if we have a graph that shows all the way from 2023, you would see like now people are hiring more on generative AI. But generative AI is also a bit of a confusing term because some people are hiring on people who can do machine learning programming and generative AI, while others are hiring for people who can just do prompt engineering. And prompt engineering is, do you know what prompt engineering is? Okay, I realize we're sitting in Zoom, so okay, I'm just going to tell what prompt engineering is. Okay, cool. One person said yes, nice. So prompt engineering is like, you use Chat GPT. If you have used Chat GPT, if you have used Google Bard and or any other LLM, you have a question and you ask the agent, okay, what do you think is this, or what do you think will be what do you think will be 2 + 2? So when you write that question and you send it to the LLM, that's a prompt. And this is called prompt engineering. So turns out there are multiple ways you can ask the same question to the agent. And when you have that kind of situation where you can ask the same question in 10 different ways, it also turns out that the GPT or the large language model will also have 10 different ways of answering you back. So people who specialize in asking the right questions so they can get the most out of the large language model are called prompt engineers. And recently we have seen that every company who wants to work with large language models in one way or the other are looking for prompt engineers. This is a brand new field. This is a brand new area. So we don't have enough data on this area to be able to show how many jobs are there or how many people have actually worked. Perhaps this field might just burn out on its own. We don't know. Perhaps it will thrive. Time will tell. Okay, this we can skip. Yeah, one of the most important things you should do when any new technology comes out is to follow follow the, like this terminology is very famous in the finance world. Follow the money. You need to save. You need to see where the money is being invested into. 10 years ago, or not 10 years, around 5 to 8 years ago, a lot of money was invested into cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. And that was the right time to be worried about blockchain or cryptocurrencies because you had institutional investors coming in, you had a lot of private investors putting their life saving into cryptocurrencies. I'm not going to argue if this was a good thing or a bad thing, but from a financial point of view, if you have a lot of money going into one field, you need to pay attention to that field. When the blockchain phase was over, it's not over yet, but I mean, like when that investment craze was, it cooled down a bit. Then you had a lot of money being invested into companies who were focused on the climate focus. And then if you followed the money, if you follow the same concept and you look at where the money is being invested into, you as a programmer would think about making applications which would give more environment friendly data back to the companies. And many startups did that. A lot of new startups were made which were focused on data, which was data and reporting on the environment. And a lot of companies use that data. And yeah, nowadays, or even like in the last, I think the last 5 years, a lot of money has been gone into AI. Because of ChatGPT, the money has exploded, the amount of money going over there. So you need to pay attention to this field and see how things will turn out. A lot of people are saying that ChatGPT craze is over. A lot of people are not using ChatGPT anymore. Okay, sure. The consumers might not be using that much. The number of engagement rate has probably gone down. But look at the number of investments already done and the new investments coming in. And the investments keep on increasing. So when you have that much substantial investment in one field or technology, that means that technology or field will stay for at least 5 more years. That will create jobs, that will create a circular economy where other companies will also buy those technologies. So always follow the money when it comes to any decision you're going to make about which field you should go to, which course you should take. And we saw that in artificial intelligence, the number of investments kept on increasing until 2018. In 2019 and 2020, we saw a drop, but in 2021 and 22, it came back up again. 2022 was a bad time for a lot of different stocks. And I mean, we also know what happened with the geopolitical situation around the world. So investors kind of became more afraid. But in 2023, we don't have the data for that yet. But what I hear is that a lot of money was poured into generative AI startups. And when you look at which country was investing the most, US, obviously the top, you have Silicon Valley over there. But China and UK are also coming to the top, and China is coming to the top for obvious reasons because it's making its own economy, its own tech companies, and you have a big population over there. But now they're going outside as well. US is already abroad, but China is going outside now. So you see like Alibaba and these kind of companies coming out and giving their services to compete with US companies as well. Now, UK is becoming an important player in the world of AI because the difference between UK and Norway is that Norway talks about oil and a lot of investment is done in oil. But when it comes to tech, we don't really have any serious investment in tech in that area because we are very comfortable in our skin. UK is more afraid. They don't have a lot to stand on. So they know that they need to invest in tech. They need to invest in AI. So they have made special investments on a government level, and those investments have been helping smaller companies in getting those investments and going forward. So it's not only the government part, it's also like private investments going in. So when you have a government when it's a circular effect. If you have the government putting its own focus in a specific area, then the private investors also feel more assured. So within Europe, UK has been doing a lot of investment in AI. Now France is moving up a bit, but it's still not there yet. Okay, this chart is until 2019. So you see that the number of investments was going mostly into autonomous driving. We did see an influx of a lot of money going into ChatGPT in 2023, but still I think autonomous driving and cancer studies, drug studies, facial recognition are still getting the highest number of share of investments in AI. Why is that? So why is that autonomous driving is getting a lot of investment? The reason is that if you have a company like Volkswagen, Tesla, and BMW, these are big giants. They have products which cost a lot. And then if you have these kind of products, which is a car, and you sell them for $50,000 or $80,000 or 1 billion, 1 million kroner, you have a lot of investors backing those kind of projects. And if you're promising that, okay, we're going to revolutionize the whole car industry with autonomous driving, then you will have smarter investors or institutional investors investing their money into those companies. One of the reasons why Tesla's valuation is so high is also because it's called itself an AI autonomous driving car company, not just a car company. So when you talk about autonomous driving and health, the number of investors, the type of investors will also be different in those areas, because this is not my game or your game. We are very small kind of people in that area. However, when it comes to digital content, facial recognition, databases, software platform, any other kind of thing, small investors can also go in there. And that's why the percentage of investment also goes down. So within data, you would assume that autonomous driving will get most amount of funding, but within that, you will assume like, okay, a major portion will be spent on AI programming development. But that's not really the case. AI application also relies on a lot of different areas. And when you talk about data and tools, that takes the biggest amount of share when it comes to the AI investment. Oh no, I think I said wrong here. This is the wrong slide. Okay, okay. I apologize. So what we are showing on this slide is that the different sectors where investments have, where different companies have received different kind of investments. So you have fashion, retail, tech, which is getting a very high number of income, data tools, automation, oil and gas, text analysis, fintech, chatbots, marketing, and so on. So you have an idea on how much percentage of investment going into each area. I'm amazed to see that chatbots is still very at 3.5%, because chatbots and text and analytics should actually go very high up in the number. When you talk about AI, you should actually look at a few countries like Israel, Singapore, and United States, China too. A lot of work is being done in these countries because they are good at tech and they're good at AI. And AI is like a natural evolvement. Like, okay, you have made a very good technical infrastructure, and now you want to work with AI. Okay, go ahead. But if you have not invested in your technical infrastructure, you can't really make the jump to just AI, because AI itself uses a lot of tech, and tech comes from normal programming. Right. So let's talk about how enterprises like us, like Ruther, Nav, Skatitatan, or other kind of companies, they look at AI. So what happened was that they got data from a lot of 3,000 publicly traded companies, and they just look at every company listed on the stock market is supposed to talk about how the quarter went, what they're planning to do in the future, and how their next quarter or next year will look like. And they saw like the number of times artificial intelligence was mentioned in the earnings call actually increased. And earnings calls are actually very important because they show the direction where the company is going. And if you give wrong information in the earnings call, people get fired by giving wrong information, because you're talking to your investors and you have to be honest on your company's performance and the way you're going to go forward to. So if people in the company have been talking about, okay, we're going to invest in AI, and they don't invest in AI, that's a very serious offense. And if they say about, oh, this is an interesting area and this is going to change the way we work, and we have this plan to go forward, they will actually make it happen. So earnings call is a very important factor to look in the growth of a particular area as well. And so far, we have seen that the mention of AI keeps on increasing in the earning calls. Yeah. So a lot of financial companies are focusing on AI. They want to see how this technology will impact them. They're already investing in it. You have electronic producer. Health is one of the main areas they want to invest more, and they want to see how they can use AI to help them out. I talk with a lot of health professionals. My startup has been working with a few health projects, and one of the biggest complaints we get from people is that how can we use this technology to reduce the time it used to free up our time. You have a lot of radiologists, and they go to work, and all they do is, now it's not all they do, but a major portion of their time is spent on preparing data sets for AI algorithms. And they're doing this, okay, one day this technology will help them save their time. And they're like, can someone help us fix this part? And there are a lot of solutions to it, but the health system is so complex, and you have a lot of personal data that they're unable to get that help which they need. But they are going forward. They are trying their best. I think one of the hospitals in Barham, or somewhere else? No, it wasn't Barham, but one of the hospitals actually implemented an AI technology, which was a huge thing because the hospitals, because it's kind of hard to allow these kind of things. Yeah, okay, one student said it's actually a Barham hospital. Please take a look at this link shared by one of your classmates, and you'll get an idea about how they are working with AI in one of the hospitals. What else over here? Transportation. Okay, transportation area is not something I can talk about transportation because I work in transportation. I work in Ruther. So even though we would have wanted that a lot of transport companies would have used AI in some way, transportation is everything, like land transport, air transport. You still don't see a lot of transport companies using AI. I think Ruther is one of the only examples of a Norwegian transport company who is so far ahead in AI and quantum computing as compared to anyone else. But in the rest of the world, it's just like, okay, transport is just plain old transport. People will go from one stop to the other. Why do you need to? That's the attitude we have. Why do we need to automate it? Okay. Before I talk about autonomous vehicles, I see like now is the time for a 15-minute break. So let's take that break, and we meet again at 12:30 in 15 minutes. All right. I'm going to pause recording. I forgot to record. Okay. One more question. Okay, I didn't know. Hmm. All right. Thank you for sharing that information about Stavanger and um, the next city. Okay, where were we? Yeah, autonomous driving. Self-driving cars. So when we talk about the amount of investment or the focus on self-driving cars, you actually see that most countries are focusing on self-driving technology. Um, you have, I mean, you would obviously everything started from the US, then you had Middle East, Middle East meaning Israel. Um, but in Middle East, I also see that small country. I don't know what country is that, Bahrain or I don't know, UAE. But then you had the Americas making most of the investment and testing out most of the EVs, which kind of makes sense. But within Europe, you have almost all countries in Europe are doing that. Yeah, yeah, UAE. Thank you. Um, okay, where are we? Yeah. Now the thing is that you also need to look why is it that autonomous cars are not being rolled out? Why don't we have autonomous vehicles everywhere? It has to do with safety, and we might not see it, but there's a lot of focus on safety or car standards. And there are laws in place which actually prohibit self-driving cars to roll out. And the way when they test out the quality of a self-driving car, obviously they look at parameters and information such as how many times it brake, how many times it understood along the thing as wrong. But they also look at factors at how many times the self-driving car was involved in a crash. And yeah, um, there are you don't have so many crashes. You don't because the problem is like the car stops immediately if it sees a problem. And the worst case for a car is okay, if it cannot understand something, it will come to a complete stop. It will create frustrations for cars behind them and around it. But that's the difference between a self-driving car and us as humans. If we are in a situation and we create a chaos in the traffic, we will either get pretty angry or we will get pretty embarrassed. A self-driving car will not feel either way. So there have been instances that a self-driving car in California was creating huge amount of traffic jams, and other people were angry, but obviously the car didn't care because the car was like, for me, it's more important to focus on the safety than to focus on the continuous flow of the traffic. So you don't have a lot of crashes happening with self-driving cars. um, and okay, another interesting thing you should know about self-driving cars. Norway is investing a lot of money in self-driving cars. So you have the Research Council of Norway who gave out 100 million kroner to few actors to try it out. Then you have some private companies, some startups who are creating their own self-driving cars and collaborating with others. There's a huge interest in Norway because we see this as a positive thing. But there's also the questions which we receive from the public authorities are very thought-provoking. So what they say is like, okay, if we allow self-driving cars inside Norway, so right now you see like not everyone has a car. You have certain population who drives a car to, if you take the example of Oslo, we have a certain population which drives a car from outside of Oslo and comes to Oslo. And then during peak times, there is delay in the traffic. People get to their spots. If there's a like accident, something, yeah, people will divert and so on. But if you have a technology like self-driving car and all of a sudden people start driving self-driving cars, then what's going to happen is that all of these people everyone will start buying a self-driving car. The car will pick the passenger up. They will go to their office or school, and then the car will have to go back to the home and then get charged, because people don't want to park them in downtown Oslo. It's going to be super expensive, or you might not even have space for it. So the problem they are facing with right now is that we don't have the capacity. That if you have, like, right now, let's assume that right now you have 10,000 cars going every day between 7 and 7:15. If that number increases to 50,000, you have a capacity problem. You have long delays. So policymakers are thinking of outriding, not allowing doing that at all. So there's a research aspect. There's research institutes who want to try it out in Norway, and then you have the policymakers who are just saying, like, no, this is not useful for the society. We cannot do it. Right now, we want to convert people from owning cars into public transport. And even that we see is going the opposite way. People are buying more cars. They just want to buy more cars. So if you get like autonomous cars, this probably going to increase more. So policymakers are finding it very hard for the whole thing. The second thing is that if you have a self-driving car, we cannot use the existing laws we have for normal driving on self-driving cars. If there's a crash or something, if the self-driving car is impacted in a crash, who will be responsible for that crash? Will it be the owner of the vehicle or the company who has made that software? So these kind of rules we don't have. We can hold the person responsible who is driving a car, but we don't know whom to hold someone responsible with an autonomous car. And unless and until we figure out who will be responsible, people will not feel safe around a self-driving car. So there are many unknowns in this area. California is one of the states which has allowed self-driving cars to go around. They have managed to fix those things. So other countries are looking into that area. So until that happens, if you see like a self-driving car going around in Oslo and Norway, or if you see like Ruter is also driving its own self-driving buses, keep in mind this is just a test. We are actually 5 to 10 years away from actually seeing this in production, because things in government always take time. And this is the most sensitive thing we are talking about, self-driving technology. People will scream, people will be afraid, and politicians and policymakers will be afraid to roll it out. Very good point by Freya. Like, the question is how said frustration affects other drivers into becoming more dangerous drivers. That's true. Half of the time I'm frustrated while driving my car is because I'm frustrated by someone else not driving the right way, or someone is driving very fast, or someone is driving very slow. So half of the frustration comes from that part. So if you have a self-driving car which is going in the middle of the highway and it brakes for no apparent reason, obviously your blood pressure will boil over. Okay, autonomous weapons, like the defense industry. Now, we're talking about the positive side. We're talking about how great it is for AI and very nice, like image generation, autonomous cars, text generation. But then there's a very silent and a growing field of autonomous weapons, the defense industry, who has been investing very quietly into this area. And this number is growing much larger, because now we have a war. There's a war going on in Ukraine, and you have more companies jumping into it. They want to make their own system which are more AI powered. 2 weeks ago, I got a call from one of the suppliers who was supplying some arms to. Yeah, I don't think I should talk about that. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just trying to let you know that this stuff is happening. A lot of investment is going into defense industry, and they are thinking about ways on how they can incorporate more AI. And one of the things which is very, very hot right now is how you can use drones, and drones which will have like AI built into them, which can target the enemy in the right and proper way. So most of the investment comes from the governments, but since the war happened with Ukraine, there were a lot of private investors which started piling up into defense stocks, because this kind of war, even though people predicted or they hoped that it will be a small war, is turning out to be a long-term war thing. And whenever you have a long-term war, it creates a lot of compound effect, investment effect for smaller companies or defense industries who make a lot of, who earn a lot from these kind of wars. So that means that in addition to government contractors who are funding these smaller companies, you have a lot of private investors who have made money from the previous tech investments, and they're also going into more startups focused on AI and yeah. Oh, wait, I'm looking at a chat. So the question is, isn't the vast majority of autonomous weapon systems that operates on the machine learning, PDC, and missile defenses? Yeah, I mean, okay, that's a very good point, Einar. Yes, not all, but most, not, I wouldn't even say most of them. But you're talking about developed economies. You're talking about countries like USA, Norway, or NATO, for example. They might have these kind of weapons which already use AI to predict where to, yeah, where the missile would go. But now we're talking about more sophisticated technologies, and there are countries who are not even using that sophisticated armory because that's more expensive. So yes and no. There's a lot of infrastructure which relies on just giving information on where the bomb actually has to go. There's no intelligence in that one. So yeah, I mean, I come from Asia, so if I talk about Asia, I don't think we use a lot of AI over there when it comes to weapons. But in the Europe and America, yeah, I think we do. Okay, one more question. Yeah, no. So robots. I think around 10 to 15 years ago, when people spoke about AI, everyone associated AI with a robot, and they were like, okay, that's how what artificial intelligence is. And I've been to numerous presentations, conferences where whenever they were talking about AI, the first slide was always about a picture from a Terminator movie, and it was always like a few robots which were standing and they were killing humans, and that's the image we always receive of artificial intelligence. But I think the last few years we have educated ourselves, we have grown a bit more smarter, and we understand what AI is. AI is not a killer robot. AI is just a functionality. We as humans perceive AI as a robot because I think deep down this is our desire to create a life form which is intelligent and which we can give it a shape. We don't want to give it an organic shape because this will completely be like us. We want to give it a mechanical shape. And that's where the concept of robots also came in. So in the field of AI, robotic investment is the one which has been getting the most amount of investments. That field has slowed down now because I think we have now more use cases than before. People are not that excited about robots as they used to be. But robotic investment has also changed a bit. There are a few companies who are making robots who can help you out in the house, but I think people are more interested in smarter, smaller devices than actually one big robot who can go around and do everything for you. And I think our general perception has also changed, that we might not be able to make that kind of robot. And even if we are able to make that a kind of robot, it's not really necessary right now. So the concept of robot has also changed from a robot which could act like a human and the concept has changed to robot more like a mechanical device, which can learn on its own and help us out in a specific function. So a lot of manufacturing in the manufacturing companies have started installing a lot of AI powered robots, and I think that's the right way to go forward. When you focus on specific installations. Okay, a lot of conversation on the chat. Okay. Let's see. So, has anyone of you tried to see the trends on Google? I mean, if you have not tried it, you should try it out. It's a pretty cool thing that when you if you want to see what people are talking about, you have a feature in Google called Google Trends. You go to Google Trends and you try to find out, okay, I want to know people were talking about AI, people talking about ChatGPT and so on. So since most of us use Google for most of our services, Google will show you how many times people search for that specific phrase. And it will kind of do all the, So even if you have searched for OpenAI ChatGPT against ChatGPT, it will use them as the same thing. So Google search is also a very good trend. Google Trends is also a very good tool to see which fields are mostly on the rise. And you see like machine learning is the one getting most attention. And when I last saw Google Trends, I saw that, a lot of people are talking about ChatGPT, and then LLMs came, people talking about LLMs. But now, I should have shown that graph to you, but what I see right now is that there are not so many people using or searching for ChatGPT anymore, because it's more of an accepted part. And then people are like, okay, ChatGPT is there. They might use it, they might not use it, and so forth. But Google Trends is a very nice way to see how the market is behaving, how the world is behaving. Ethics in AI. Now, ethics is a very big field, becoming a much bigger field in AI, and there are people who have devoted their life to it. This is a field on its own. Some companies have even hired people who are focused on ethical AI. So this is an important area where you should also try to look into. So what really is ethics in AI? So I'm not going to talk about, I'm going to do a brief overview of ethical AI, and then I'm going to talk about how much focus is being on ethical in AI. So ethical AI is that once you create an algorithm, an AI algorithm, you should be able to explain that algorithm. That's the explainable part. And you also need to make sure that the algorithm does not put people at harm, or it does not create problems for one community or people who are actually using that algorithm in a daily way. There are many examples to it, things which did not work fine. Amazon, for example, made a recruitment algorithm, and Amazon is a very big company. They get like thousands of applications per day. So their HR was busy with this task that they had to go through all of those CVs. And most of the CVs had the same things. They were like, so the question that came was, can we make an algorithm which could just go through all the CVs, do the initial screening for us, and then we start going through those factors. From an AI point of view, this is a very simple algorithm to make. You have a lot of CVs coming in. You just push them all the data to your algorithm, and the algorithm will start predicting. What went wrong in this algorithm was that historically, there were a lot of men who worked in Amazon. And all of a sudden, when they started using the algorithm, they saw that the algorithm was recommending more men for one position as compared to, and they were like, why is it doing this? Why is the algorithm being so sexist? And then they started Then they looked at the data, the model was fine. They look at the data and they realize, okay, you have a lot of people who have identified their gender as male or female. So, okay, take away the gender part, take away the name part, take everything away which specifies a person as a male or a female, and then rerun the algorithm again. They tried to do this again and still they found the same problem. Now, what they found was very interesting. And they found was that, now I'm also saying a very gender specific thing. I shouldn't be saying that, but this is the research they did. So I'm just going to share the research they did. So what they found was in certain aspects, there were a certain part of the series were written in a male specific way and other part of the series were written in a female specific way. And that was something which kind of which was inherited the way how society works. One example of that would be that, I'm not going to give examples, so that's that. And that was a thing they could not control. This was a pattern in the application itself. And when we as humans don't see this, when we are going through thousands of applicants, but the algorithm picked out that pattern and it made a pattern like, okay, if an application is filled in a specific way, then this means it's a male applicant. Or if it's filled out in that way, then it's a female applicant. And this is something they could not control. They were like, if we take away the textual part of the application itself, we don't really have anything out there. So what happened was that they had to shut down the whole project because they had made a project, they had made an AI algorithm, which was highly unethical. And it was always going to, it's not treating men and women in the same way. It was a very sexist algorithm. So, so that was the first example which came out of ethics, which went wrong. They put it into production, and then they had to find out the hard way. The second problem was with us when we were working in Router, and we were like, okay, we need to make an ethical algorithm. And when we started looking into the data we had, the data came out to, the data had issues, as in all controls were done by ticket controllers, and then ticket controllers were also in giving, some ticket controllers were going into certain part of the city, others were going into other parts. And that meant if you're always going to that specific areas, people wouldn't be happy. So we were like, okay, we need to fix the ethical part first before we work on the algorithm. And we fixed it in a way like, let's not use historical data at all, because we cannot trust historical data. So we generated data from scratch. So that was the other example. The third example I have where ethics did not turn out right was this law enforcement algorithm made by New York Police Department. And New York Police Department made an algorithm which was mostly a crime, not like a minority report, but mostly like they wanted to filter out people whom they thought are capable of committing a crime. And I mean, we all know the history around in the US and how law enforcement is targeted or kind of works bad towards people of special color. And when they put this into play, the algorithm always predicted like dark skin color people were harassed more. And when they started looking into why that was happening, then historically, the police department had always been targeting those people. So if you have a data which is always, which has bias in it, you will end up creating an algorithm which will have bias in it as well. So you can imagine the amount of investment which was put into creating all three algorithms. And you can imagine the amount of bad reaction you got from the market when the algorithm came out. And if you do not, so what I'm trying to say is that if you do not focus on ethical AI, the whole thing can go to waste. This is a very important field you need to focus on. And it's not something you should focus on after the algorithm is built. Like in the cases of Amazon, like in the cases of New York Police Department, But in the case of Shooter, so we learned from the mistakes done by New York Police Department um, and Amazon. We were like, okay, we need to fix ethical AI first. So having said that, if you look at the frameworks which is being worked on, because obviously when you want to work with ethical AI, you want to know which tools to follow, which frameworks should be focused on, whom to talk to for help, whom to ask for guidance. So you see like that has also increased in the last few years. So you didn't have so many in 2014 to 16, but that has increased. And I mean, now 2009, you have the image from 2019, but take a look at now 2023. Almost 80% of the talks around AI are focused on ethical AI. I was in Arandazuka. I hope everyone knows what Arandazuka is. If you don't, Arandazuka is it's a gathering in Arandal where politicians go, and it's open to everyone. Anyone can go. They talk about what kind of policies to make. They talk about things, and a lot of focus in Arandazuka was on artificial intelligence. But everyone who was talking about artificial intelligence was talking about how to regulate AI, and in the regulation part, they spoke about ethical AI. So ethical AI is on the top-notch priority for every policymaker, everyone working with AI, and you should also have focus on that one. I'm going to go to questions now. Okay. Okay. So I will share the research from Amazon, and that's a very funny thing about the Minority Report. And then the last question is, how did the generator from scratch help remove bias? And so the answer to that is, okay, when we were looking at the bias, we were like, okay, we need to focus on ethical AI, and we are making an algorithm which is now going to predict where controls will happen. And in every AI algorithm, the way you work is that you look at historical data and you do a prediction on historical data. So you trust your historical data that everything is fine in historical data. But we knew that our data wasn't correct because we want predictions which would be better than the predictions done by our ticket controllers. And they were like, okay, if you want to do something which is better than existing one, you cannot use the existing data. You have to generate new data, artificial data. So that's what we did. In the new artificial data, we told the algorithm that every stop has equal importance. So if you're looking at stop like Stuttinge, that's Stuttinge. If you're looking at a stop from north or south or east or west, every stop has an equal importance. Then we told the algorithm, okay, now make a path out of it. Now make us a path which we can give to our ticket controllers. All right. Then, okay, ethical challenges. Okay, people, when I talk about ethical challenges, they talk about fairness, they talk about explainability, transparency, accountability, and so on. We have a separate slide on ethical AI. We'll cover most of them. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I mean, the third point is very important for you. The demand for AI talent has increased quite a lot. I mean, last 2 years, I would say doubled, but with generative AI, it has exploded. Look, when you want to see what's happening inside Norway or where where the innovation is happening, always look at offently companies, because offently companies in Norway are the ones who get most amount of most amount of funding from the state, and they are the ones who are doing all the investments. Recently, what I've seen is that most of these offently companies have started hiring AI programmers, AI developers. So when they hire, the consultant companies will also hire, and then the startups will also hire. So the demand for AI talent is increasing, but not everyone is hiring an AI programmer. So if you are a person who is not comfortable with AI programming, it's fine. You don't have to be an AI programmer. There are at least 50 different fields around AI which you could work for. You could work as an AI product manager. You could work as an AI QA person. You could work as a data analyst. There are a lot of options out there. Then other thing is that AI is around us. I mean, we talk about AI, we talk about how this will impact our lives, how this will improve our lives. But if you look around us, it's around us in almost every device. Our phone has it, our watch has it, our computer has it. Even the Zoom video call we're doing right now, it has a lot of AI built into it. So it's expected that the wearable AI market. So when we talk about the wearable AI market, that's like our watch, our phone, our glasses, which might have like some AI, that will reach around $180 billion by 2025. Okay, I think we are very close to the end. Oh, that was the end. So that was actually it for today. Today's lecture was supposed to give you an idea on, wait, I'll just stop sharing. Yeah, so today's class was supposed to give you an idea on the magnitude of how big this is, what we are dealing with. It's not something which will be over in a few years. This is going to stay for a long period of time. If you see that AI is so deep rooted in so many industries around you, you can just pick up and go to if you love working for defense, you will go to a defense organization. You can start working in AI. You love working for transport, come and work in any transport company. You will have AI there. Finance, real estate, everywhere you will see AI, and you also see like it's not dying off. It's not like small proof of concept projects. There's actual investment being done. There are users who are using it. There are tech companies who are using it. So this is a force which is already here and which will shape our lives going forward. Now, in the coming classes, we'll talk about what kind of shape this force will take. Will it actually become an artificial general intelligence? Like, will this be an entity which will think on its own and become like a superhuman or not? Or will it just be a smart device which we can put in a corner and it can kind of monitor us and give us devices like a smart assistant? That's something which we have to figure out in the next classes. I really like the questions which came to the chat. So I think we should continue with the chat function so I can follow up with the questions immediately. This week, we are not going to have any lab because all of our TAs are not really on board yet. So today is the only class we have. The next week, we will come back to classes and lectures in a regular way. All right. Let me see. Question, let's look at questions. Yeah, one question is like trend for hiring developers is going downwards. You're right, there's a slump in the market right now, but on the other hand, I see like AI developers are earning, there's a huge demand for AI developers, and AI developers are earning, they're getting good increments and they're earning like good salaries. And the last question is the AI index report. I will come back to you on that part because there's a new report out now. So we should focus on that one. All right, thank you so much for today. I will record this, this already recorded, but I will upload this presentation too. Have a nice day. See you.